my business. Big man and witness my musical litmus. Just for your fitness. Beg my forgiveness, my records go Guinness, so be my apprentice. Unicorn hacking in Venice. Angel investors, my internet tennis. Still criminal till I spill it to finish. Survival the fittest, the digital menace. I'm still in idle the scene. Popping them volumes and sipping caffeine. Marshall web packets in a subroutine that I write to a stream with a proxy between. Embedded radix and word. Macros disabled, your boy ain't deterred. Wire transferred, social the teller and teller you heard about the king nerd. I keep it suave on the phone. Shut off utilities, black out your home. Cracking the wireless back with a drone. Keep them at clone.
We are recording. This is
episode
number
11. Episode 11. Chapter 11.
What is that in Spanish?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Ocho? No,
ocho's 8.
8. Diez. I don't know. You've tapped out my Spanish.
I think it's once.
In French, it would be onze.
Mm-hmm.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
16?
18, 19.
19 is 19, yeah.
I'm sorry. We don't have a little cough filter.
We don't need it.
Because
we have tens of listeners.
Yeah, our tens of listeners probably are not going to complain. I'll tell you what. We'll get a cough button when we have our second sponsor. And...
our second paying sponsor.
Our second paying sponsor. And when we have enough listeners on to get John McAfee. So,
which would take 5,000.
Yeah, we need like 5,000 subscribers, whatever that means, in order to get John McAfee on. And, you know, we're nowhere close to that yet. I mean, what are we at now? Like, I usually don't like to be obsessed with stats, but I really want John McAfee on the show. Because I need to learn about John McAfee's obsession with anal fisting.
And whales.
And whales.
Whale love. Yeah.
And I need to know about all of his children. I want to know if he knows the names.
I'm not even sure if he knows his children.
Yeah, but I want to see. Does he know the names?
How many he can name?
Of all of his children, yes. I want to see. McAfee and I are going to have a chat.
No, he would be super interesting to talk to.
He would. Maybe someone who's listening to this podcast.
For some reason, he constantly thinks that all governments are out to get him, though.
Well, of course. He's like...
Why? I doubt he did anything to be hunted by the U.S. Maybe not paying taxes?
Tax fraud.
Taxes.
Yeah, or tax evasion. Not fraud. I think he refused to pay taxes. He owes the United States taxes, but refuses to pay them.
Well, of course, that's the long arm of the government.
Right. And
plus, he's into cryptocurrency, so he's not going to, and he might be... Who knows what he's doing?
He's just living on a boat or whatever. But maybe someone's listening to this, and they could, parlay this message to John McAfee that I would really love to chat with him. We obviously would have to go back to the regular studio so we could bring him in.
Yeah. Live yeah, we'd have to do a Skype thing.
From wherever he's at, his mysterious location. And maybe he'll bend the rules for us. If he bends the rules for us, I will buy a cough button.
Okay. Out of your own pocket.
Out of my own
sponsor.
Pocket. Yeah, no sponsor.
So maybe if we have one of our tens of listeners is friends with John McAfee, or it's kind of like the 7 degrees. Is it 7 or 6 degrees? 6 degrees of separation? Is that what
6 or 7 degrees of separation
like
from Kevin Bacon.
From Kevin Bacon. So maybe if one of our tens of listeners isn't friends with John McAfee, maybe they have a friend that is.
Yeah, maybe.
So we never know.
But it's on my weird bucket list of things is to talk to John McAfee. Ever since I'm
kind of surprised that you haven't.
I kind of am surprised too. It's kind of like those things like
because of all the people that you know, like
I should
here in
have
California.
Tattoos.
It's like, why don't you know John?
I should have tattoos and I should know John McAfee.
Oh.
I have neither.
Yeah,
but I'm totally the person that should have both of those things.
I never could get a tattoo. I still haven't done it, and it's the lamest excuse ever.
What is your excuse?
I'm super indecisive. So I know that I would get something and then years later be like, wow, this is a really shitty tattoo. And
you're absolutely right. And you know what happens is people just own up to their mistakes. So I have talked to people about this too. And they're like, oh, I have tons of tattoos on my body that I don't like anymore. Mm-hmm. And they usually just refashion it into some other tattoo or they just own it. It's supposed to be part of the journey, I guess.
Part of the journey.
But did I ever tell you about the tattoo?
But I probably wouldn't even do that. If I really, really ended up hating something, I would probably, I would just get a tattoo of like a slash mark across it. Be like, no,
Canceled. I cancel you, tattoo. Canceled.
Exactly.
Did I ever tell you about the first tattoo that I wanted to get? I wanted it so bad. I came so close to getting it, but I was a minor when I wanted this.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't explain to you to this day what the appeal was. But when I grew up, I had this type of milk called Borden milk. Do you have Borden milk where you're at?
Borden?
Borden.
Yeah.
Do you remember Elsie, the milk cow?
Yeah. I think, well, I forget where they're from.
I think she had a septum piercing. But she was awfully cute, and she had a septum piercing.
So you
And I
were
thought she was
inspired by a really cute cow.
Yeah, I thought she was punk rock. And I was like, Elsie the cow with the septum piercing. Or maybe she didn't have one, or I imagined her with one.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, my tattoo is going to have
An
Elsie cow with a septum piercing. And I was so obsessed with this, and I was going to get it. And I came really close. I almost got one illegally. And then when I turned 18, I almost got one. And I came so close to getting this damn tattoo on my arm. And I never did.
Here's the funny thing.
And you know what? I would regret it to this day if I had Elsie the Borden milk cow
because you don't drink milk.
I don't drink milk. Yes.
So you would have a milk tattoo of something that you don't consume.
Yes, I wouldn't drink milk. And just for you, if you guys don't know, I'm not lactose intolerant. I don't really know what the issue is, but some milk makes me feel sick, and not always. It just like comes and goes. And
you just have to have the best milk.
Yeah. This episode is not brought to you
by Strauss.
By Strauss
Dairy.
Creamery.
Is it creamy? Is
I
it
think
whatever they call themselves?
Strauss
Creamery.
Dairy.
Something.
Creamery.
They make milk.
They have
stuff.
cream on top of their milk.
It's the best part.
Yes, it's Lee's favorite part.
Like I've told you many times, I haven't had that sort of milk since prison.
I love how you say that. I haven't had that kind of milk since prison. Lee has never been to prison. He worked in a prison. Mm-hmm. So, but it sounds funnier if you say I haven't had it since prison.
But they had really good milk. So, yeah. I haven't tasted anything like that until I got the Strauss milk.
Yeah. So, Strauss, I see him chugging like milk.
I can live off of it.
Like it's just going out of style.
Yeah. Some people
Lee loves milk.
Yeah. Some people like wine. I like milk.
Yeah. I don't like either of those things, milk or wine. But you know, when I was little, I used to drink wine, or not wine. I used to drink wine when I was little. No, I didn't. I used to drink milk, and I would put it on ice, and I would drink like a huge glass of it over ice, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
I did that, probably a handful of times when I was a kid, but I
thought I was
really
being
didn't
fancy. Fancy milk on ice.
Ooh.
Fancy time. I was a weird kid. I was a very strange kid. I was kind of like that girl in Harry Potter, Luna.
Oh, Luna Lovegood?
I was a lot like that as a kid. It freaked me out when we watched it because...
Like they wrote a character about me.
Yeah, I was like, wait, that was me as a little girl. Like, I was very much like that. Not quite as spacey and not like...
She's all into whimsy.
Yeah, but I was very much all about that. Mm-hmm. So, there's a period in my life that I highly relate to Luna.
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of a mixed bag. Always kind of have been a mixed bag, but...
What Harry Potter character are you?
Oh, I haven't really thought about it. I don't know.
Would you be Dumbledore?
No.
No?
You know who I probably would identify most with in reality? Longbottom? What was his last?
Longbottom. I was about to say, yeah, Longbottom.
Yeah, probably him.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, that's probably
yeah.
my character.
Longbottom's great.
Neville, that's what his
Neville
name was.
Longbottom.
I forgot his first name.
So what character do you think I am, besides Luna? Because when I was watching that, I was just like, I'm clearly Luna.
No, I think Luna's a good fit.
Yeah.
Because, you're not a Hermione.
No, I am not a Hermione.
You're not a Hermione.
No. Hermione would drive me insane.
Even though you do have the journals that Hermione would have. You just don't utilize them.
Yes. I do develop strange obsessions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go and you talk to Chris or Lucas or any of my friends from the past, they will all say the same thing. If you say, like, tell me one defining characteristic of Cyan, she becomes overwhelmingly obsessed with something and goes crazy over it and then just drops it like a hot potato. Like my picnic baskets.
So you just squeeze all you need out, and then
I get every last drop
once little
that I
drop's
need
gone,
out
it's
of
like
there.
it's just discarded.
And then I'm done. And I don't know what it is. I just like have to know everything there is to know about, like right now it's picnic baskets. I'm obsessed with them. But that will end. Just so you know, like it's not going to last. It's just like this knitting room and all of this yarn that we're sitting around. I'm not knitting right now, but I will go in
You
and
went,
out
you
of.
went from knitting to quilting,
Yeah, I got to finish that quilt though.
and then I guess you're going to bounce back and forth.
I have
between
like
the two.
1/8 of the quilt done or something like that.
I think you.
Ish.
Yeah, you did one long row.
Two.
Two.
And I
rows.
sewed those 2 rows together.
Oh, okay.
So
So you have
Progress.
You have part of a quilt.
progress. If I sew it all up now, I could just make the world's tiniest little quilt. It'd be very narrow.
A mouse quilt.
Well, it's bigger than a mouse, right? But no, that it is a thing that I think it's a character trait that annoys some people, but at the same time, some people find it funny and amusing, and I think that it actually makes me good at a lot of things.
I think I have some of the similar traits. I tell people that I collect hobbies because I have an annoying amount of them. So there's no reason for me to know how to nap stones and make stone tools. But I became really interested in it, and I just started making arrowheads and knives and all sorts of stuff. Just random,
Yeah, because why not?
random hobbies.
Yeah.
It's like you never know when the world's going to end, and then you have to go back to stone tools. I'm ready
So for
that.
me, I wish, kind of like the Matrix, that I could just download all the programs for how to do everything.
I know Kung Fu.
Yeah, I know Kung Fu. I really wish I could do that. Unfortunately, life isn't like that, and we have a limited amount of time. But I want to learn so many things, and the other thing is I have ADD, and so I hyperfocus, and I hyperfocus on something for quite some time actually, and then and as into it as I am, I can just suddenly just be like, meh. So a really good example of this is when I was younger, I was really into a band called Shonen Knife, which is a Japanese punk band. It's like a boppy poppy punk band. I'll have to play it for you. It's crazy. And then I would eat packets of sugar, like open them, and then just dump them in my mouth. I was like 16 years old, 17 years old. And then I would run around like crazy around my friends. And this went on for a long time. Sugar and Shonen Knife. Don't ask why. I don't know. So if you ask Josh what of his first memories about me, he always brings this story up. He's like, she used to eat bags of sugar and obsess over Japanese punk rock music.
A sugar high and just go crazy over K-pop or J-pop.
It wasn't even J-pop. I mean, it was Japanese punk music that you could hardly understand. They would have like some English words every now and then, so they'd like spin, 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 spin Barbie or something like that. Spin, 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 spin Barbie. Mama, mama, mama. I don't know.
So that's the extent of their English, probably. And they just throw it
like,
into a song.
Mama. But yeah, I had a record player, and so I would put the record on the record player, and then I would invite my friends over for a party. But the party did not include alcohol; it included bags of sugar.
And I'm sure they all got really into just downing handfuls of sugar.
No one did. I was the only one. No one ever would partake with me. I did have a Dr. Pepper party once where I bought tons of Dr. Pepper.
That'd be really good in Texas.
And I told all my friends we had to drink as much of it as possible. And so we sat and drank ourselves silly. And it turns out you can get really loopy on Dr. Pepper. You can get seriously fucked up.
From what? It's
sugar and caffeine.
Yeah, okay.
If you're like 14 years old or whatever, like sugar and caffeine, it's on a next level. We probably are pretty immune to it now. Like we probably would be like.
Well, the funny thing is that when you stop eating sugar, then things become much more sweet. And so if I go back and have like a regular Coke, I haven't had a regular, I have them maybe when I go get tacos or something. It's just, come on, you can't have tacos. It's either tacos and Coke or tacos and beer. It's one of those two. There's no in between. So when I go back and have a regular Coke, it's just way sweeter than I remember.
Wonder what you just thought of me if you met me earlier in life. I used to eat mustard packets. So I was allergic to mustard. And my mom would hide it because I'd get into it and I'd break out in rashes everywhere. I wasn't anaphylactic, but I would have a very strong reaction and just get hives all over my body. And so she hid them from me, the bottles of mustard. And then she ended up having to hide pickles because pickles have mustard seed in them. And there was like a whole bunch of stuff she had to finally get rid of because anything that had mustard in it had to be hidden from me. But I was a devil child. I would go in a store and she would be at a store like buying groceries or whatever. Or we would, there was very few fast food places where we lived, but the very few we would go into had mustard packets. So I would go and grab them and put them in my pocket. And then later on, when she wasn't looking, I would squeeze them all out and eat them and break out in hives.
So you'd have an excuse to get out of whatever?
No, because I loved it.
Oh.
I loved it so much. It was so weird. Like, I would have such a strong reaction to something that I loved so much. And then eventually I just outgrew it, thank goodness, because I love mustard.
Yeah, I don't know if I outgrew my allergy to Coke or if it were just the...
Coca-Cola, everyone.
Or if it... Coca-Cola, the beverage. Or if it were, just linked to the formula change. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I was allergic to it when I was a kid. And then when I was under 5 years old, I remember, and I wouldn't be able to drink that. I'd have to drink Pepsi, which to me is terrible today. Like
Pepsi is just way too sweet.
I won't drink a Pepsi.
Yeah, it is way too sweet.
So, but then after I was probably 15 or so, I tried another Coca-Cola and I wasn't allergic to it anymore. So I don't know if they just changed the formula or the dyes or something, or if I just finally outgrew it. But something in it was I was allergic to.
It is interesting how you outgrow allergies, but yeah. Wow. Without even meaning it, I segued into rashes. Did you notice that?
Well, talking about rashes.
I didn't even, so how Lee and I plan our shows is we sit down and we just ramble off 5 or 6 ideas that we want to talk about. And one of the things we want to talk about today was rashes.
Well, we brought it up last time.
Yeah.
Or one of the last shows talking about rashes. So we had to come back to it.
Yeah, I was going to tell you about an epic rash that I got. But before I do, I was going to tell you about, I think we discussed that I was going to talk about how I wanted to be an amateur
dermatologist. Yeah.
I'm an amateur dermatologist.
So were you just fascinated with skin stuff?
I think it's actually an unhealthy obsession, to be honest with you. It's rooted in something probably not particularly good for me. But I think that perhaps dermatologists might all have the same disorder. Because if you're really into skin, like, you might have some kind of like obsessive behavior about skin. Kind of
like the zit doctor or whatever.
Yeah, the zit doctor clearly has what I have.
Where she just absolutely loves to pop everything.
Yes, I unfortunately have that same affliction, so I try to avoid it as much as possible. I ran into her videos one day and I felt this like strange sensation when I was watching them, and it was like, oh my god, I found my people.
And you're like, I wish I could pop that.
Yes and no. Like, it's really weird because it's a simultaneous like feeling of awe and disgust at the same time. It's like it can only be produced in that way, and it's like such a unique feeling that it's satisfying to be in awe and disgust at the same time.
What is awing about it? Just that like all that stuff was
in there and you got it out. It's this weird satisfactory thing of like cleaning something out and it is now clean. And even though that's not technically accurate, but it is, whatever was in there is gone. And you had something to do with it. You got rid of it. And so either I, in another life, or a parallel life, or maybe there's still time, I was an esthetician or a dermatologist because I am obsessed with diagnosing people's rashes.
So when you see somebody with a rash, do you go and research and be like, that pattern looked so
Yes,
and so?
I do. I do. And as a matter of fact, I have nailed it twice.
And then you just call them up and say, oh, by the way, that rash that I saw on you
Yeah.
like 3 days ago?
Yeah. Are you aware you have eczema? um, are you aware you might have ringworm? Yeah, no, I don't know what it is. Sometimes rashes are sometimes not easy to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
So some rashes look very similar to other things, and it's probably pretty easy to misdiagnose. I recently met a dermatologist that I am just in awe over. So I went to go get one of those workups where they like tell you if you have skin cancer or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman was so good at her craft. So like you have to strip down and you're naked, and she tells you like all the little spots on your body and what they are. And she does it without hesitation. And I'm like, she's like the Gandalf or the wizard of dermatology. So, for example, I have these weird orange spots on above my eye. Have you noticed them? It looks like I'm wearing eyeshadow all the time, but it's like orange paint or whatever on my eyelids. I've probably spent well over 20 hours trying to figure out what the hell is on my eyelid. I've gone to multiple doctors. I had my beta carotene, or my whatever, carrot, the stuff that's in carrots. Vitamin B.
I forget what's in carrots. Right
Whatever
now.
turns you orange when you eat too many carrots. I had that tested because I was eating so many carrots. And so I thought maybe that was the issue. No. Then I went down this path of thinking that it was related to fat. Not fat. Cholesterol. Related to cholesterol. So got a whole bunch of blood work done on that. Nothing. Like, I'm fine. And she figured it out immediately. Like, she looked at my face. She's like, oh, you have orange whatever it's called on your eyelids. And I'm like, wait a second, what? And I was just like, Eureka! You know what it is. Anyway, I would love to be her.
Well, I mean, when you're in a profession for so long, it just becomes second nature because you
I
see
have weird professions that I want to be.
You see so many people.
That's one of many weird professions I want to be. But
what all jobs do you think? Well, you want to be a secretary.
I want to be a secretary. I want to be Pepper Potts.
Pepper Potts.
I want to be Pepper Potts. Yeah, and I actually I shouldn't even go there. There were a couple of positions that have opened up in my life that I really wished I could take because I'd have been Pepper Potts in a way. In a way. Like, they probably wouldn't have seen it that way, but I would have seen it that way. Does that make sense?
But these are professions that are going to go unnamed?
The people that they would be for, I cannot name them, no.
Okay.
I don't think that they would have viewed it the same way that I was viewing it. I'll just put it that way. But yeah, I think that I would have very much loved to be Pepper Potts. And if you don't know who Pepper Potts is, I can't help you. I don't know what to say. She's only the most like intelligent, amazing human being in folklore, obviously. But
well, that's why she's the head of.
She's the head of Stark Industries.
Stark Industries.
Yes, and she earned it.
Yeah.
So yeah, Pepper Potts. I want to be a dermatologist. Secretary. But that's more of the Pepper Potts thing. It's like secretary on steroids. Like the traditional secretary is not my. It's not my bag.
Yeah. Just orchestrating and running things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Any other roles that I've ever wanted? Oh, merchandising windows.
Oh, just like arranging stuff for like holiday season or
All
just anything?
seasons. Like, I believe that windows, people should give good window. And if they don't give good window, you shouldn't go inside.
Well, I mean, that was the original sort of advertising, right?
Yeah, the cooking lady on Divisadero Street, she gives good window.
Well,
I mean, it's not that great, but it's enticing enough. So when you walk by, you're like, wow, this lady's a mess.
But I mean, if you look through, like, I don't know, early mid 1900s, New York City, I think they still pretty much do it, especially for holiday season, to where they build really ornate displays and stuff in windows for people that are literally window shopping.
Yeah.
Just showing like a little snippet of what your room or what your life or what you could look like if you just had this stuff.
I bet there's a subreddit for this. I should probably find my people. Because there's probably people who are
Window
really,
design
really, really
underground.
into window design. And I will go to the mall and I will not give a retailer my money unless their window is perfect. And what I define as perfect is something about that window has to draw you inside. It has to call to you. And it could be the way that they dressed a mannequin.
Is it like
or it could be a story they're telling.
Is it like a lifestyle thing to where they're like, you could have, this is the sort of lifestyle you have with this product?
No, all windows are different. There's not all windows are created equal. And products that they're selling are different, right? So a really good example is the best window in all of San Francisco. If you're listening to this and you're going to San Francisco and you want to see a great window, there's a hardware store on 5th and Mission. I think it's a Kohl's. Might be an Ace or Kohl's hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right by the Container Store. And they change around their window maybe every few weeks. And whoever does that window, I want to meet them. Because they clearly get it. They get it.
What do they
So
do?
what they do is they take hardware items from around the store and then make things out of them in the window. I don't know how to describe
it. So they build
it.
stuff out of the tools.
Yeah.
So they'll build some
And it's
figure
always
out of
so
tools.
clever. It is always so clever. And sometimes it's even too clever. Like, you look at it and you can figure out the meaning behind it. Like, whoever's doing it is on another level of window dressing. They're like, they deserve a prize. Actually, maybe that's what I should do is start giving out trophies.
It might just be an artist.
It has to be. I mean, they're definitely an artist. They're definitely an artist. So, like, one time they made a bunch of chandeliers out of forks and cutlery. Out of cutlery and, like, colanders. And because they also sell kitchenware there, too. And so there's all these colanders and forks hanging off the colanders. And it was, like, this really beautiful just metal assortment of just stuff. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes they'll curate whatever's red inside the store. And it'll just be all this red stuff. And then sometimes it's like has to do with duct tape. And it will be something duct tapey. And whatever it is, though, it's always just so freaking well done. So I guess I'll put that on my bucket list. I want to meet that person. I want to meet them.
I'm pretty sure we could make that happen.
Yeah. And then I think whoever does Louis Vuitton's windows does a good job too. But I think that's obviously a corporate high up thing because they make all the windows look the same.
I really like the Williams-Sonoma stuff that they do. So at some of the shops, what draws me in is I see like a glimpse of the sort of kitchen that I kind of want. Mm-hmm. Like I want that fancy stove that burns wood or gas or whatever that looks old school. And then just stacks and stacks and stacks of like Le Creuset in different colors on top of each other on a shelf.
So someone's on the ball there, right?
So I'll see that and I'm like, okay, cool. I have 5 minutes.
See, who else gives good window? The Container Store gives pretty decent window. Mm-hmm. When you go by there, you feel the need and the urge to go in and touch containers. At least I do. There's some fabric stores that do a pretty good job. But anyway, maybe I could write reviews and I could just review people's windows because I really feel like some people just don't give a damn. And it shows. Like, I'm like, who chose that outfit to put it in the window? Like, it says nothing. It feels nothing. Like, it's such a bad job. I just want to go in there and fix it. So it's one of these.
You could be one of those crabby ladies that just walks in like, no. This is
all
wrong.
No. It's all wrong.
Where's your manager?
All wrong.
Let me help you. You have to take this out of the window.
Yeah, all wrong. Then there's a bar over on Divisadero and I think Oak, and they have this awesome. Sorry, I can hear my neighbors. They have this awesome. It's a bar and it's an art bar, so it makes sense that they would have really cool art in the window. But they always have art in the window that's a commentary on kind of current events. Whoever does that's also pretty clever. Not that clever, but pretty clever.
Not as clever as the hardware store.
No, the hardware store person's just like, that's next level stuff. I mean, it is next level. And, oh, you know who else is good is Chanel. But they better be. As much as they charge for those damn bags, they better be good. But they create some pretty amazing things. Like one time they did this whole... Have you ever seen their runway shows?
Not in particular.
They're insane. They're insane. One time they did a whole grocery store where the models walk down the aisles of the grocery store. And on the aisles of the grocery store are a bunch of Chanel branded items like Chanel honey, Chanel mustard, or
So
whatever.
they just stocked up stuff at a store and just slapped their name on it.
Yeah, and
Just
then
for
they
decoration?
and then they have these women walking with these shopping baskets that are wire shopping baskets, but they're Chanel branded, and they probably cost $20,000. And you're sitting in the grocery store, kind of like a cafe. You know how some grocery stores have like seating, you know, like for the Starbucks or whatever. So like when you're in the audience, you're sitting kind of like that. And then I think at some point they let you have some of the things, like you got your own cart or whatever, and you got to put stuff in your cart.
They just drop by and drop off honey.
Yeah, that was really cool. So they do a lot of like really immersive things like that. So runway shows are probably the high-end, high-cost equivalent of what a window display can be. A window display could be so much more. Like, you have one shot, one chance. You don't want to blow it, as Eminem says. You know, you've got to get people in, and you've got that one moment to capture their attention, and if you don't do it, they probably won't come in. At least I know I won't.
Now, who is that designer that you really like?
McQueen?
McQueen.
I
Yeah,
love
like with his
McQueen.
crazy shows.
Yeah, love McQueen. So for those who don't know who McQueen is, McQueen was a British designer. I say was because he's dead. He died due to HIV complications, but he committed suicide. So he would have died regardless. And he was just a genius. Like if you look at the way his clothes are constructed and you watch the way he works, it's clear that he was just this tailor savant. And he started out mostly, I think, modifying clothes and tailoring clothes, and then was very, very poor. And then started just obsessively learning about construction of clothing and like how it could be put together. And he became...
Yeah, no, when you're talking about construction, are you talking about just the way that it feels or rests on you, or
all
like
of it.
the movement is better, or...
All of it. I'll show you one of his jackets, and you'll just have to look at it and see. I think you'll see the difference between it and anyone else. So he had this magical ability to make women's bodies look absolutely stunningly beautiful. Like,
Well, I mean,
every curve that should be accentuated.
they already are.
They already are.
But
he makes them look
just
like...
highlighting like the best features.
Yeah, there's just something, like he knew all of the various little areas to accentuate on a woman that is just so flattering.
What I find so funny is it's a lot of times it's gay designers, gay men that do that for women.
Yeah, he was gay.
It's just so funny to me.
Yeah, he
So the one that
he
like
designs men's clothing as
Yeah,
well,
well-
but his
well-
men's clothing is unremarkable in
Yeah,
comparison to the women's clothes.
like the stuff that they make for women to just make them look insanely awesome and
Yeah.
hot. It's a gay guy. He's like, oh no, you just need to boost this and that and that.
Yeah, they're like, we know how to make you
Yeah.
hot. Don't worry. Gay guys know best. But yeah, McQueen. If you have a chance, watch the McQueen documentary. YouTube. And I think it is a wonderful window into that world. And he ended up being an apprentice for a lot of major designers and brands. And started out, believe it or not, McQueen was a side hustle. So he worked for all these other brands to make money. And at night, he formed McQueen. And it was a total side hustle. So in the beginning, he did these really underground, illegal runway shows where he would bring the models out and then set cars on fire. Stuff like that. And he developed a cult underground following for his things. And it wasn't until he was much more well known that he was able to bring McQueen up to be a fashion house. And but now it got acquired. It was acquired by I think the same people who own Saint Laurent. And unfortunately, they've not done well by the brand, in my opinion. So they started stamping everything with McQueen across it, which I fucking hate.
Just branding it to let everybody know that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I admit I'm guilty. I have a Chanel handbag, and I like Chanel handbags because I like the construction behind them, and I like the story of Coco Chanel, and I like the whole thing, but I don't really like the double C's. And however, if I take them off the bags, my bag is instantly not as valuable as it once was. So if I ever want to resell them, taking the C's off the bag is kind of a dumb move. But I really don't like designer clothes that have monograms all over them. And so McQueen started putting these really large McQueen, like gaudy things on them. And the reason is it's an aspirational brand. And so they make these products that are attainable, still expensive, but attainable. And you buy them and you go around and you wear them as kind of a status symbol.
It's kind of like that men's designer. I can't think of the name right now. It escapes me. But
Hugo Boss or...
No, there was one to where it was like a luxury brand, and then they created their so-and-so, Armani. Armani. So they created, I think, what is it, the...
Armani Exchange?
Exchange, to where they just have these ridiculously shitty-looking shirts that just say, like, Armani, that 3 feet long.
I know. Yeah.
It's just so tacky and awful.
It's really tacky.
So
However, I'm not going to judge. People like what they like, right? And so if you want to wear something that says Gucci or Armani across
but like
it,
having an
then by all
Armani suit,
means.
that it doesn't say Armani on it, but it's supposed to be a kind of a status suit, right? But then they have this other side of the brand to where they just basically spray paint the name Armani on all over everything.
Yeah. Well, I don't like advertising for other people unless I really, really, really love them. And I really, really love McQueen, but I'm not advertising for them.
Yeah, I try to think about the brands that I get because I believe a lot in voting with your dollar. And I kind of learned that from, there was a staff sergeant. No, Sergeant Major. Sergeant Major Adams, I think his name was. Sergeant Major Adams. So he actually got me to stop wearing things like Nike and, big name brand things. And I started wearing New Balance. Because he told me about New Balance. It's like, well, it's made in America, blah, 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 and you're not doing all this stuff overseas. So then I started thinking more about that, about where my money went with stuff that I get. So some of the brands that I really, really love, I may not even be able to buy them, but I still promote them. So, a Tesla, for example. I'm not going to go buy a Model X or something, but they're fun to drive.
Yeah.
And they're really comfortable. But, if anybody asked me, and even though I worked at Tesla and I didn't agree with how some things were run, I still always recommend them no matter what, because I still believe in that vision and what should happen. So when I buy a brand, ever since I was a teenager, I've been kind of cognizant of what that brand really represents. So
Well, I think a lot of people don't understand what high fashion represents because it's so expensive. It's stupidly expensive, really. Most people should not buy it. But for me, it's art. So you can really summarize it like DeYoung. Somebody curated this amazing DeYoung show that had Gaultier stuff. Are you familiar with Gaultier? I think his name is Jean-Paul Gaultier. He made all of these outfits for Madonna, and he had, just like McQueen, also had a magical ability to accentuate a female body. And he used a lot of corsetry as well. So I think he also might have made something for Lady Gaga. Both of them have made things for Lady Gaga. And but there was this whole museum exhibit that was just extraordinary. Oh, the outfit that Madonna wears where she has the cone boobs?
Yeah.
That's his stuff.
With like the metallic.
Yeah, the cone boobs. So he made the cone boobs. His stuff was like more S&M fetish, whereas like McQueen's is a hint of S&M fetish. It's not. It's just so hasn't crossed that line just quite.
Is it? How else would you describe it? Futuristic or
it can be futuristic.
Modern?
It's a mixture between futuristic and very classic fitted corsetry from the past. Mm. And so Gaultier was very much about the corsets and had tons and tons of boning and ribbing and corsetry. And McQueen has some of that, but not a lot. Like there are belts that are very wide that resemble kind of corsets, but they're not really corsets. It's like a hint of corset. And so it's like a nod to it versus the other designer, Gaultier, is there's more than a nod. It's like, it's clearly a lot of inspiration from the S&M movement. Whereas, I think McQueen is more of a tease about it. Mm-hmm. But he had a dark sensibility, and so like a lot of his clothes, I don't know if you saw that shirt I was wearing the other day, it has a skull on it. That's McQueen. Oh. So skulls are very tied in with his brand. Mm-hmm. And I think in the movie, if I could be wrong, but I think he talked about like mortality was something that he always kind of struggled with. And so that's why he incorporated the skull into the brand. But now, like if you see a McQueen handbag. Oh, the other cool thing that he did was that
it was kind of like his memento mori sort of thing.
You'll have to explain that to me. I don't know what that means.
So memento mori is something that the Romans had. It's like a little coin with a skull on it, and it's supposed to remind you that you are mortal.
Yes. So it was very much like that.
Yeah, that you have to live your life in the moment because
Correct.
This is only temporary.
Yeah.
You're always going to die.
You're always going to die. So his clothing is stamped with skulls all over the place, and that's why. And it's not to be that skulls are edgy and cool. He actually had a very specific meaning for it. Mm-hmm. And because he always knew he was going to die. So he just didn't think he was going to die as young as he did.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's absolutely brilliant. And he was brilliant at maybe other things, but this one specific thing, like it was just a gift. It's just really sad that we lost him. His understudy took over. Her name is Sarah. I forget her last name, but she took over. She's done a pretty good job of honoring his legacy. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I really feel like they're just repeating old patterns of his, putting new designs on it.
Just like the best hits.
Yeah, it doesn't feel innovative and new anymore. Mm-hmm. I felt like for a while she pushed the boundaries, and then they got acquired by Saint Laurent's company. And then as soon as they did that, it became about commercializing the product and mass marketing it and making it less special. And so I think they've kind of lost touch with what the McQueen fan really cared about to begin with. I don't know. How did we get into fashion?
I don't know. I was just thinking about it. We went from
rashes
to fashion.
McQueen would have liked rashes. He probably would have had, like, Helmut Newton. I showed you some Helmut Newton pictures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Helmut Newton is a nude photographer, mostly nude photographer.
Oh, and
He's not nude. He takes pictures of nudes.
And he also liked women wearing braces.
Braces, yeah. And I was talking to Lee the other day about how I often mistake medical equipment as accessories.
Oh my God. And you compliment people on them.
And I compliment people on them. So I have this friend who has an ex-wife, and she wore these rings on her finger, mm-hmm. and it was because she had arthritis. But I thought they were so cool. So, like, I sat next to her, and I was just in awe, and finally I just couldn't help it anymore. I was like, where did you get those rings? They're so cool. I don't think anyone has ever told her this, ever. And she was like, I need them for a medical condition. And I was like, what? Medical condition requires wearing cool rings? Because I want to know all about this. And she obviously didn't really want to talk about it. And basically they were a prescription or like made by some doctor or something like that. And they were basically braces for your fingers.
Supportive, yeah.
And I thought they were so hot. I was like, those are so hot. Same thing with my poor friend, Alexia. She came to an event of mine and she was wearing a back brace. And I think it had like metal boning or something like that. So it looked like kind of like an alien device was holding her in. And I thought, because it was at an industrial club, that it was like this really cool fashion
It
thing.
fits the motif perfectly.
So she had a dress on and she had it over the dress. And I think, I mean, that was obviously a conscious decision. She could have worn it under the dress, but she wore it over. And so therefore it felt like a really amazing fashion accessory.
Like a
Also,
statement.
she's really into couture like I am. And so I thought it reminded me of Jean-Paul Gaultier. I was like, I really, really like your harness. And she's like, oh dear, love, like I have to have this. And I was like,
It's like, yeah, I do too.
oh yeah, can I have it when you're done? So I think that's probably one of the reasons why I'm drawn to these types of artists. I mean, one of my favorite artists in the world is H.R. Giger, who did Alien. He designed Alien, the creature from Aliens.
Yeah.
And so his stuff is really dark, really stabby stuff, like really stabby. And a lot of his muse, one of his biggest muses was Blondie. And so he has this most amazing picture of Blondie where she's got like circuitry for a face and her hair is like snakes, like Medusa. And it's just so cool. And that was probably the second tattoo I've thought about getting, which wouldn't have gone very well with Elsie, the milk cow. But I thought about getting H.R. Giger all over my body, like all over.
Like alien-inspired stuff along with a cow.
Yeah. So if I lose all my hair, which we talked about the other day, if I ever lose all my hair, that's when I'm going to tattoo my head, and it's going to be H.R. Giger and like all sorts of crazy stuff all over my head.
Well, I'm kind of more boring when it comes to tattoos, I guess.
What was your dream tattoo?
It's not necessarily a dream one. I've thought about
Mom.
what I could. It's like I thought about what I could tolerate, and that I'm not going to get tired of, and it's really cheesy stuff.
All right. So what is it?
So
Confess.
one, Star Wars.
Oh, of course.
I was thinking
of
about
course.
getting
I should have guessed.
So they have to be things that I'm not going to get tired of, like in a week or a year or 5 years. So I decided that it would have to be an American flag, like on my
Of course.
arm. Of course. Like,
Well, let me guess. I know what the other one. It probably has something to do with our founding fathers.
No, the
Nope.
other one would be just something about Arkansas,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and then Star Wars.
Star Wars.
So those three things I wouldn't get tired of.
No, you wouldn't.
No.
No.
So those are the only things I could probably be okay in my mind getting a tattoo of. So
Well, there's-
other than that, just way too
it used
indecisive.
to be really edgy and cool to have tattoos, and now it's like such a mainstream thing that I'm turned off by it.
I think it's kind of more now
It's almost like
to not
more
have
edgy
that
to
stuff.
not have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. People
So
always
to be honest,
expect
like
me-
when I look at like a dating site or something, I'll see a girl and then she'll just have full sleeves or like something right under her throat.
Don't get me wrong, it can be really hot.
It can, but I'm like, in my mind, it's like, that's just too much. It's just
Yeah.
too much. I don't know. Like in my brain, it's like, that's just too much. And then I'm like,
Swipe.
I can't do it.
Which way do you swipe if you don't?
Left.
Left. Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's like I,
I have
can't
to be
do it.
reminded because I don't use these apps. So you swipe left if you don't want,
Yeah.
and you swipe right if you want.
Yeah.
So right is right. Right is yes.
Uh-huh.
Left is no. Okay.
Yes.
That seems right.
It does seem right. Because if
seem
it's
right.
right, it's right.
If it's right, it's right. Okay, got it. That's how I will remember it. Yeah, no, I've seen some really attractive tattoos on women.
The funny thing is so my cousin has, I guess, should have been away long enough. I guess now they're like 18 or 17 now. But when they were younger, I would tease my cousin. I'd just like within a few feet, and she would get up or something, and then she has this little tattoo on her low back. So if she was wearing like a shortcut thing. So I know her original tattoo. It's not that tattoo anymore. And so I used to kind of tease. I wouldn't tell her daughters what her tattoo was. But then I would say it loud enough to make my cousin uncomfortable. Because she doesn't want her daughters to
So you
know what
can't
her
say it
tattoo
here.
was.
You can't say it here then.
Oh, sure I can.
But her daughters could listen.
Oh, they're not going to listen to.
You don't know that.
They don't.
Don't betray it.
No.
Don't do it.
Well, I didn't swear to not say anything. But it's not anything bad. It's just funny. Is she went through a phase, I guess it was kind of rebellious back when she was maybe 21-ish, 22-ish. And so she just wanted to have a Playboy tattoo on her. She wanted the little bunny ears and everything.
That's all it was? The
That's
Playboy
all it was.
tattoo?
Yeah, so it's not.
Oh my gosh,
but
that's nothing.
Yeah, but to her, like, she like, oh, I couldn't dare like have my daughters know that.
That I had a Playboy tattoo. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So she likes cats and the family likes cats and whatever. So before she had her kids, or maybe even when they were small, she had that tattooed over into a black cat. And so now she just has a black cat on her low back. That's because they like cats, right?
That's really funny.
So then I would tell her daughters, like, you know, your mom has a tattoo on her back. She's like, yeah, I know, it's a black cat. And I was like, no, it's not. It's like, there's a tattoo under that. Why don't you ask her about it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, I seem like the kind of person who would have lots of tattoos, but I don't. I had piercings. I had lots of piercings, but I got rid of them all, except for my ears. That's it. Yeah. That's all I have left. I just kind of lost interest in it. It's too hard to keep up with and just don't even want to deal with it.
Yeah.
But we have other things to talk about.
Yeah, rashes. We still
So should we go back to
avoid
rashes, or
yes.
should we postpone it again and talk about May the 4th? What do you want to do?
How much time is it? 50 minutes.
50. I could go quickly into the rash, but the rash story is a good one.
We're going to have to delay it again.
Yeah, because it's a good one.
For another episode.
I think it has to wait. Because I really feel like I could tell this rash story for like half an hour.
Well, you'll have to. Because it's not just a rash.
No, it's not just a rash.
It's a whole story involving different locations. And yeah, it's
a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
So I guess we'll have to talk about May the 4th. So what we were doing today.
May the 4th. May the 4th be with you all.
Yeah.
I think we cannot skip May the 4th because so sorry you're going to have to wait for the rash story, but it's coming.
Well,
promise.
it's okay because it's a Star Wars holiday.
I don't want to be rash.
We're not going to be rash.
It is an official holiday. Mm-hmm. It is May the 4th. And Lee and I just did a Pop Shop Live show in which we sold a bunch of stuff for charity.
And it's all Star Wars related.
All Star Wars related. And Lee, like quite literally, packed up several suitcases full of Star Wars stuff that he collected as a teenager. Mm-hmm. Because he thought episode 1 was going to be much bigger than it ended up being. Yes. So did I.
I stopped,
in all fairness, I did too.
Because that was like the whole revival after 2 decades of no movies.
I thought it was going to be massive.
Yeah.
The only massive thing to come out of that was the reboxing of the trilogy.
Yeah.
You know, remember the VHS reboxing? That was it. That was the most magical part of all of that. And then they redigitized them or something.
They did. So before then.
But then they mess it up.
They kind of did, yes. Not kind of, they did. Mm-hmm. They just did. So George Lucas, when he was making the Star Wars films, wanted to have a more fantastical environment and world that they could afford or they could do with technology at the time, right? So when they had the chance to remaster and reissue these films, so they didn't just come back out like on DVD or VHS. They rolled out a whole theatrical release to where the original films were released the year before Phantom Menace came out. And so they re-released those films in conjunction with also selling the widescreen copies of the home films. But before then, they were just like the full screen 4:3 aspect ratio to where you couldn't have the full picture. It's just kind of cropped out because when they do that, they shoot the film in widescreen and then they just crop out like half the picture. So it'll fit on a square TV. So it always sucks. That technique is called pan and scan. So while they're editing, they have to move the editing window back and forth to show, hopefully, what they want to show. So anyway, they came out with the widescreen editions. And while they had that opportunity to remaster, George Lucas also threw in some new computer animated shit to where you had extra animals walking by, like in the desert. He let his
fantasy run wild, as he likes to do. Yeah.
And so they just added all sorts of shit to the movies, and then it kind of pissed off. And that's when they changed it from Greedo shooting first. Mm-hmm. Because Han Solo got the jump on him in the original and then shot Greedo after like Greedo threatened him. But in the new one, I guess he didn't want that sort of image for Han Solo, so they added in like an extra little shot on the wall to where he somehow missed Han Solo, and then Han Solo justifiably shot Greedo
In self-defense.
in self-defense, because he wouldn't do that sort of thing. He wouldn't just shoot a man down in his chair.
Oh, jeez.
So that was some of the stuff that they changed.
Because he couldn't be a bad guy.
He couldn't be a bad guy. He is
kind of bad. He's always been kind of bad.
He's a rebel runner that ran drugs or whatever. Or illegal booze. I forget what it was.
Illegal, I think it was a lot of illegal things.
He was running all sorts of stuff in his younger years.
Yeah.
Always in trouble.
Always in trouble.
Always in debt. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing starts out to where we first meet him. He is indebted to Jabba the Hutt, which is nothing but black market shit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So he was definitely it's complicated character.
Mm-hmm.
He's complicated. But yeah, so we had a good May the 4th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I started rewatching the movies, and I think I've only made it to episode 3, 4. I still have some. Oops, almost lost my phone. I still have many more to watch, so maybe I'll get to them. I don't know.
You haven't watched back through the originals?
No, I haven't watched back through the originals.
So just
yet.
the prequels.
Yeah, just the prequels.
Okay.
Had to get the hard stuff out of the way.
Hard stuff out of the way. With the pod racing with little Anakin.
Little whiny Anakin.
With his little childhood romance.
Yeah. That's so fucking wrong. It's just so twisted.
I love you. You're 3.
You're 3 years old. Call me when you're out of your bouncy
it's
castle.
Like you're in kindergarten. I can't date you.
Yeah, once you're out of your crib, let me know. You have the makings of a fine-looking man. Please stop sucking your thumb. On the day you turn 18, call me. That's just so messed up. Okay, so had it been the other way around and it been a little girl, can you imagine?
Oh, no, it just
Can you
would have
imagine?
blown the fuck up.
Oh my god, there'd be so much
Like,
controversy.
oh yeah, some 17-year-old Anakin wants to molest a 10-year-old Amidala.
Yeah, and she's like, I can't stop thinking about
It's like, I can't stop thinking. You're so beautiful.
Also, he was just so like strangely possessive.
No, it was like an abuse.
You will be
It was an
mine.
abusive sort of relationship to where he just turned into a major asshole.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started becoming super jealous. And then at the end, he finally kills her.
Yeah.
In a way.
In a way. Yeah.
He abandoned her in her need and went to go off and murder children.
But remember when he goes and he kills them all? He's like, I killed them all. I killed them all, Padme.
Yeah,
and she's like, it's okay.
She's like, oh, well,
and she's just like petting his hair. And she's like, that's just another.
Happens.
It happens on Fridays.
I understand.
It happens to the best of us.
But you got it out of your system. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it happens.
Just rest in my bosom.
Yeah, just rest here. It happens to the best of us, Annie.
This is stupid as scripting. It's like you just murdered a whole school of children, and you're like, oh well, Mondays.
Yeah, when he went to go, like, when he was freeing his mom, that's when he like murdered everyone, man, woman, child.
Well, I mean, but those were sand people.
Yeah,
it's kind of justifiable
because
they're sand people. They're Tusken Raiders. All they do is like kill people in the desert. They're not great people.
Well, even then though, like, killing.
Well, I guess
it's not a good thing no matter what.
Maybe.
And so like he comes back and he's just like, I killed him. And she's like, oh, it's okay. You just killed the sand people. It's fine. Don't worry, Annie.
It's like, well, they were torturing your mom.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of justifiable. To me, come on. If you find your mom being tortured and like dies from Tusken Raiders, you're going to kill every single thing you see. Generally. Generally.
Not my mom.
Yeah. After I said it, I thought about it. I'm like, well, I guess you have to think about that one.
That's terrible to say. I'm so sorry. I would not want my mom tortured by Tusken Raiders. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Yes, you would.
No, I wouldn't.
Kim Jong-un?
Okay, yes. Okay, yes.
Which, unfortunately, well, whatever side of the aisle you sit on, I guess.
There is no aisle. There's only one aisle to sit on. There's no aisle. You should want that motherfucker dead.
I'm just saying, not politically, but whether or not you wish harm on people. that aisle.
Even if you don't wish harm on people, you should wish harm to that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, I am a pretty peaceful person. You know that. And, like, I have a hard time harming anything, anyone. And if you put a gun in my hand and I was in North Korea, standing in front of the man, I'd probably kill him.
He's not a great person.
No, he's not.
Yeah, no one would.
And I know that maybe some people are like, "Whoa, you have the capability within you to proactively kill someone."
Oh, everybody does. Everybody does. Reality, depending on the circumstance, everybody does.
I mean, I might verify first all of the things to make sure it's not some weird propaganda thing, but I don't think it is just propaganda. Like, I don't know. Well, I mean, obviously, it's a fantasy land. I'm never going to North Korea. I'm never going to have a gun in my hand. I'm never going to be standing in front of him. It doesn't matter.
But we had news that he had suffered some medical complication from a surgery.
and I have to admit, I cracked a smile, and I hoped he died.
Mm-hmm. And then, I guess, what was it, yesterday? Oh, by the way, he showed up at a fertilizer plant.
Yeah.
After being gone for half a month. So who knows?
I was hoping he was dead and his sister would take over and that maybe she might be better. The people of North Korea deserve better. Mm-hmm. They have it off so bad. Like every interview I've seen of somebody who has escaped, especially the prison camps.
Well, they'll be infested with parasites and worms and stuff too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just obviously not a good place. And the thing is that it's not a choice. If it was a choice to live under that regime and you could leave, that'd be one thing. Like, I would be okay with all the crazy shit, right? Like, if you could just, like, say, you know what? Goodbye. I'm out. I want to go live in Switzerland where you went to school, Kim Jong-un. And, and I want to experience the free world like you, dude. And I also like Hennessy. But...
Stop drinking all the Hennessy.
Stop drinking all the Hennessy. Share the Hennessy, dude. I would be okay with it, but the fact that they cannot leave, that they are forced to be there, they can't leave the country. They'll be shot. It's slavery.
They'll just be shot.
It is a nation of slaves, and that is not okay. It is not okay. So, yeah, I would. I'd go kind of crazy if I were in front of the man.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
But, yeah, so he's still around, I guess.
I have friends who have gone there, and I always question that. I'm like, why? Why would you go there? Why would you give them any money?
Well, see, that's the conflict that I would have. Supporting them with money.
Of any kind.
Well, yeah, but then you also have the opportunity to talk to people. So, I don't know.
But they don't give you that opportunity.
Just to speak to regular people?
No, you're not allowed to talk to regular people at all. At all. So, basically, there's a hotel specifically for people who visit North Korea. Mm-hmm. You're only allowed to go out and wander around with an escort. And that escort makes sure that you only see what they want you to see. And you only hear what you want to hear. At nighttime, you have to stay in the hotel. You are forbidden to leave. If you leave, you get put in North Korean jail. There's a guy that stole something from the hotel. Mm-hmm. I forget his name. But he stole something from the hotel, put in prison. And so if you take something that you're not supposed to take, like a flyer off the wall or whatever, you're done for. You're just done. So, like, why would you go and put yourself in that position?
Risk. Yeah.
Like, some people go, I think, for the thrill of it. But, like, you can't walk around and talk to people. They won't let you. And those people aren't going to talk to you because they've been conditioned from the day they were born that you're basically the devil. Mm. So they're not going to talk to you. They want you dead.
Well, I mean, I've spoken with a few people, even just from China next door. And it is amazing that you can speak to somebody that is educated to some degree with their profession, their skill, whatever. But then still recognize the fact that these educated people have grown up in an environment to where they have been conditioned to believe absolute propaganda.
Yeah.
To where nothing's ever done wrong, and here's why it's justified.
So a
So
lot of
like,
people are smart. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of smart people in the world, and there's a lot of smart people there who understand they're being fed propaganda. They get it. The thing is, though, your entire existence and family existence and everything could be destroyed if you break rank. So you don't.
yeah, I mean, there was this girl that I was talking to from China, and I just had to just say, I can't talk to you anymore at this point. Sorry, it's just I can't talk to you, because I had brought up the point that during this coronavirus that blacks, immigrant or not, were being discriminated against and kicked out of restaurants or evicted from hotels.
Oh, in China?
In China.
Yeah.
Because,
Which amazingly was not a big story here.
yeah.
Kind of blows my mind.
Definitely wasn't picked up or a big issue with the athletes that are trying to sell shit in China.
No.
So it wasn't a big deal apparently, but she was justifying that, saying, "Oh, well, that's an immigration issue. It's just immigration. Like, you deal with immigration, blah blah blah. Each nation deals with the immigration issues." It's like, that's not an immigration issue.
It says we do not serve black people here.
Your government
It's what their sign
your
said.
government is trying to tell the population that it's blacks that brought the disease there, and it's blacks that will get you sick, to get rid of the blacks. Just get
Yes.
rid of them. Move them out, kick them out, get rid of them. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
But on their end, and the receiving end of the propaganda, apparently they think that it is just an immigration issue. They're not being done wrong. It's just immigration. They need to leave.
So let me describe the fear in North Korea that is there. So there's this. If you can stomach it, listen to some of the people who have escaped their stories. There's a guy that was a soldier at the DMZ, and which is an area, for if you don't know, between demilitarized zone between South Korea and North Korea.
Because technically they're still at war.
Yeah, there's still a war. And so they basically have a military on either side. And so this North Korean soldier, their job was to play an announcement every day at a certain time. And they didn't have this computerized because they're not, caught up to date with modern technology. And so they have a human being, because why not, press a button to play a message at a certain time of the day. And he messed up and either played the wrong message or didn't play the message or something like that. And he was so scared, he panicked and basically ran to escape, and ran with someone who was also in the guard tower with him. The guy that was in the guard tower with him saw the opportunity, because everyone there wants to escape this. They don't like it.
Yeah.
It's just that they don't want every single one of their family members murdered, and they themselves want to live. It's human nature to want to preserve your life.
What really annoys me talking about this, and some people will say it's not our business, and maybe it's not, but when we have people like Elon Musk that have this Starlink program to where they've launched 1,000 satellites or whatever into space to have microsatellites to beam down internet and high-speed internet, that needs to be your fucking trial test.
Yeah.
You need to go ahead and station all of those things in areas that are oppressed, that to where everything's censored. Put it over North Korea. Beam in, satellite and internet.
In China.
Yeah, in China. Broadcast what the world really looks like. Tell them the truth. Something that they can't block. They're not going to be able to block those satellite feeds.
Yeah, it's interesting how they try to say that it's all made up. Like, North Korea, the Human Rights Foundation has been dropping USB drives. So what they have is these little parachutes that come in, and they drop USB drives and DVDs and all sorts of media so that they can see what's going on in the outside world. And so people in North Korea know, and there's a whole black market for this type of information.
Yeah. But if you could just beam it in.
If you could beam it in.
Like, how quick could that change things?
They probably would get rid of every way to receive it. So, unfortunately, the backlash would be no phones, no computers, no devices to receive any kind of message whatsoever. They're already almost there. And that's why they send in DVDs and USB drives so that you can watch it on a DVD player.
But in the era of high tech and communication, how long can that really last? There has to be a break. The dike has to blow.
Well, it has to blow, yeah. I mean, the other story that I heard, which is also soul crushing, was a guy that was born into a prison camp. So if you're born into a prison camp, you are a prisoner for life. So you committed no crime other than being the child of prison laborers. And this child also, they force companionship. So if you're a female prisoner, you're shacked up with a male prisoner and literally forced to have sex with them. And then you have babies. And so some of these women have babies from multiple men. The day after they give birth, they're expected to be out in the fields, carrying the babies, working in the fields. And so he was one of, I think, 2 or 3 children of this interview that I saw. And it's so messed up. And it's interesting because even with his lack of education and everything, he understood how wrong the situation was. Like, he didn't even know that Pyongyang existed. I mean, can you imagine that? He didn't even know it existed. It was like Hunger Games. He had no idea. And what happened was...
well, I mean, he wouldn't, because his whole world literally is a prison camp.
Yeah, he was born into a prison camp, raised in the prison camp. What happened was his mother didn't like him. Or he claims. He claims his mother didn't like him. And he thinks it's because the man she was hooked up with, that he comes from, his father, was not nice to her. And then the other person was nicer. And so, like, anyway, he has this story about his mother. Anyway, I guess she snuck an extra portion of rice for his brother. And he thought that he could gain favor with the guards because they have this whole system that if you rat out your family members, you get rewarded.
Yeah.
And so he was so angry with her because he was so jealous of the love and affection that she showed this brother that he turned her in, and they executed both of them in front of him. That was his reward.
The brother and the mom?
So he lost his mom and brother. And that's when he realized that's not a reward. He didn't get any extra food. He didn't get any extra anything. It was just like, you get to watch your family members die in a field. They were shot, crouching down on the ground. And so after that, he didn't trust anyone. He was like, you can't trust anyone. Anybody will sell you out at any moment. So as he got older, he ended up in a prison within the prison camp. So there's a prison in the prison. And I forget what he did, but he was in there with some guy. And this guy tried to convince him to escape. And he was really, really torn about whether or not to turn this guy in. Because he assumed that guy immediately was going to turn him in.
Yeah.
If he even engaged with him in the conversation.
So it's literally the prisoner dilemma.
Yeah. And so the prisoner told him all about Pyongyang. And he was like, do you know what's outside of these walls? And he explained to him what was out there. This guy was not born in the prison camp. He actually was sentenced to it. And he said, you need to escape. And this guy was older. And so I think he didn't plan on escaping. He was just trying to tell him how to do it. And he said, it's really simple. You just go out into the fields one day and you just run. Run away. And he's like, there's not guards everywhere. They can't guard everything. So it's not like everything's the DMZ. There are completely unmonitored borders.
Yeah.
And he can just run. So he did it. He ran and he escaped. And he told his story, and it's phenomenal. I mean, it's just so heartbreakingly sad because he's uneducated, completely uneducated. But, figured out how to tell the story, how to escape. I think what's really interesting about this is he didn't escape North Korea right away. He escaped the prison camp first. And then he infiltrated the night market stuff where the underground trading of information and stuff like that happened. And then he escaped. But he had to find civilian clothes. So there's a whole thing. I'll try to find this story because he had to find clothes that people wore and fit into society.
Was it just an interview or a documentary or?
It's an interview.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll find it. Yeah. So it's every now and then, if I can stomach it, I will read a story about someone from North Korea. Luckily, there's more and more people escaping, and they're able to tell their story. But there's a lot of people that can't, for a variety of reasons, escape that tyranny. So if I could get rid of him, I would. But you can't. You can't get rid of him yet. Luckily, he smokes nonstop, and he's in very poor health, and maybe he'll just keel over.
Well, I mean,
You can only hope.
oh,
But he has a brother, apparently.
He
Did you
drinks
know
too
that?
much, smokes too much, everything above.
He has a brother that's still alive that he hasn't killed yet. He killed his other brother, but he has a brother who is a bit of a music savant, who is a guitarist, who is really good at playing guitar, who's never showed any inclination of wanting power.
Good.
So, yes and no. I mean, we'll see if he kills that brother.
Well, hopefully he doesn't, but I mean,
Hopefully not.
If he actually takes power, then hopefully
Yeah,
he'll modernize the country.
Interestingly, the succession of power there is not determined necessarily by bloodline. I think it's declared by the military. I think. But the military, as it stands today, was created, I think, by that family. So, I don't know. I'm not... Meh. We're ending on a bad note.
Oh, well.
It's May the 4th.
We don't have to.
May the 4th be with you, North Koreans.
They do need the force.
They need to fight.
They need
They
the
need to
force.
rebel. If anyone needs to rebel, it's North Korea.
Maybe that's why nobody bought Palpatine.
Because he's Kim Jong-un?
No, it's just because, people are just over evil people. They're evil.
They're over it.
Yeah, they're over it.
Evil people are
They
canceled.
see too many evil people.
Evil people
It's
should...
not fun anymore.
Do you think evil people should be canceled? Like,
Because when I was
truly
growing up, Vader was a pretty big name. Mm-hmm. Vader was a much bigger character, or more appreciated. Maybe he's just not anymore.
No.
He's like a long distant memory.
Well, he turns to the light side in the end.
He does.
He remembers who he is.
And he turns into a ghost and, I guess, visits with his son afterwards.
Yeah. Yep. And then Kylo turns good, too.
And dancing around all the Ewoks.
It's like, I've always wanted to dance. Never got a chance.
He's like,
Yep.
I might have done things wrong.
Yep.
I could have just been partying with Ewoks.
You got O-R-R. Yep. That's probably not how the song goes.
Oh, talking about, on a lighter note, we have a not official sponsor.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, we do. Again, they don't sponsor us. I just like them.
Is it Dandelion again?
No, it is Süppenkuche.
Oh, Süppenkuche. That's right.
Süppenkuche over there in Hayes Valley, San Francisco.
Explain what it is.
It is a nice little German restaurant. It's a Bavarian sort of style restaurant. It's a really nice proprietor. He goes around and greets you and talks to people. Super nice. So it's one of my favorite haunts. I like to go there for really good beer.
Right now, they let you have beer to go.
They let me take beer to go. We showed up. We were walking
And
around.
Spatzel.
We were walking around the neighborhood, and then I saw that they were still open because I wondered if they were going to be around because I wanted to go after this whole ordeal. And fortunately, they were taking orders at the door or at the window, or you could place them online. And then you pointed out that they have beer to go, which made me so fucking happy.
You showed up with your growler.
I took a half a gallon jug to fill it with beer.
I don't know if I've ever seen Lee this happy.
Well, it's amazing beer.
Yeah.
Come on. You get some nice imported stuff that you can't get off tap in a lot of places. So, no, I spent like $250 on stuff just
Mostly beer.
hoping that, they would still be around. I just wanted to do my part supporting them. But the good side is I want to share Süppenkuche with one of our listeners. So I have bought a $50 gift card to give away to one of you. The only requirement is that you live locally to where you could use it. And
Or you travel here.
Or you're traveling here.
Eventually.
Hopefully sooner than...
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so hopefully you can utilize it and use it. But I guess we need a keyword.
Well, you pick it this time. I think I've picked it the past few times.
So on our
And
Twitter
don't make it rash.
on our Twitter account, the Cancel Pod, you can tweet hashtag or reply to our posting. What should it be?
Something Star Wars related.
Star
Dagobah.
Wars, Star Wars related? Well, it has to be something they can spell.
Oh, yeah. Okay. A lot of Star Wars stuff you can't spell.
Yeah, like Dagobah would be kind of clear. Or,
Yeah, you
unclear.
can't really, like, even Leia, people would get that wrong. Most likely. I don't know. You decide.
How about something simple? Let's do German and just say
Hashtag German.
Hashtag Guten Tag.
But they can't. People can't spell Guten Tag.
It just
Because you think, okay,
it's Guten Tag.
if they can Google search Guten Tag, they can Google search Dagobah.
They could, but you know,
Let's do it. Let's do it. It's a bit of a challenge. Guten Tag. Hashtag Guten Tag.
Hashtag Guten Tag.
If you want to win.
Absolutely, and then I will mail you a $50 gift card, and that will be enough to get you dinner, a nice beer, and maybe even a pretzel.
Guten Tag sounds a little bit like Dagobah. Guten Tag.
Guten Tag.
Dagobah.
Just means good day.
Dagobah.
So yeah, so
I like it.
you can go by, pick up your order, whatever, enjoy it, or I guess wait until you can actually go in person, which who knows how long that'll be, but I'm hoping that it's sooner.
Yeah, me too.
I miss going and hanging out just for no reason.
It'll be fun. They have communal tables there, so I think they'll probably have to.
That was one of my favorite parts
Shift
about the
it
restaurant.
around a little
is
bit.
to where you didn't have this section or this arrangement to where people just had their own individual table.
Yeah,
to
you
where
sit where you sit.
You sit
get
in a
what you
free
get.
spot, and then you can just bullshit and talk with people around.
That's how it
you.
is it is in Germany.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
pretty
probably why my German
authentic.
friends liked it.
Yeah.
They're
That's how
like,
it is
yeah,
there.
They're like, it's kind of how it is.
Yeah. You sit where you sit, and you get what you get. You
I
don't
think
get
more
upset.
restaurants should probably do that.
Not now.
Well, not now, but like in the future.
Yeah, in the future. There will be a future.
I kind of like the inconvenience because we kind of get in our own mind to where we're like, no, this is my table. Why are you listening to me? Why are you talking? What are you doing? So you try to have your own little private interaction in a restaurant, and it's just not as fun.
Yeah.
It has a time and place. Like if you're trying to get to know somebody you don't know sitting across the table. But if you're just going out with friends or whomever, just go to a place where you can bullshit with people around you. Make new friends. That's what they do in other places. You go
That's
to a
true.
bar and just bullshit and make new friends.
It's true.
So,
All right. Well, it's been fun.
and we'll have to do rashes next time. Sorry.
Episode 12 hopefully will contain rashes. If you're into rashes like I'm into
It's a good
rashes, you
story.
are not going to want to miss this.
It's a good story.
Until then, take care.
All right, bye, everybody.
We feed you these packets that we bleed through. Your bleed you, your comes. Few terabytes of that strong. Through copper, through fiber, through air gaps and MacGyver. These packets relentless. They gum it up like the dentist. No access, molasses when these bots in practice. You tied up, we fired up. So respect. You tied up, we fired up. So respect. This upstream is so brutal. The CNC stay brutal. We got packets on 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 packets. Got packets on packets on packets on packets on packets on packets. Got packets on packets on packets on packets on packets on packets.